C component. The next one, C to E component. Okay, these all are like which type of hierarchy? Yeah, to A, parent to child. You know, right? How to pass the data parent to child. Next, once you receive the data inside my A component, A to C, you know, right? My parent and children, how to pass the data. C to E, okay, how to pass the data, you know or not? Yes or no? Up to here, okay or not? Okay, you can pass the data like this. You can retrieve by using props. That is one way. Okay, another way, tell me. Another way. It's like a hierarchy based. Okay. Another way. 6, 7, right hours. 7, 6. Another way. Do you know the context? Do we cover that context concept? Context. Okay, we didn't cover, right? Yeah. By using context also, we can pass the data. By using context also, we can pass the data. How we can pass the data by using context? Now we can see. After that, we can think about this requirement. Okay, that's very simple. Okay, let's do it first. Let me open our folder. New window. Okay, here I want our folder. Our folder name is like this one, right? Yeah. Total folder I want. Yes. Let me create one file first. Context. Let me create one file. Initial is how we written the code. Same like this, we can write it. Context.html. What things are required if it is like a normal HTML? First of all, libraries you have to load it. Can we load it? First, make it work to that app. App component has load inside an app. Script source equals to Babel. This is my context. Okay, this is my Babel. Babel.min.js. Next, my script source equals to React. Done. Okay, next, my script source equals to React DOM development.js. React DOM development.js. The next one is like container. Is what? Container. Okay. The next one, script source or type equals to text Babel. Okay. Now you can create one component with class and extends from React. Okay, and then run the method and then return on div. Close my div. Inside this, you can add something like this. This component has to load inside the container. How we can load it? React DOM.render is the method. Which component you want me to render? App component. Where you want me to render? Document dot get by ID. By ID of root. Okay, that's it. Open with license. Yes, it's working. Okay, now come to our actual requirement. What's our requirement? You know, very simple requirement. Come here. Okay, say this. This is my component. This is my component. Okay, that is my root component. Inside my root component, there has one more component is there. Perfect. Inside that, there has one more component is there. Inside that, there has one more component is there. Overall, how many components are there? Yeah. Okay. The next one is like A. Okay. The next one is like B. Okay. The next one is like C. Overall, how many components are there? 4 components are there. Overall, 4 components are there. Now, my app component has some data. That data I want to display inside my C component. That's my requirement. My app component has some data. That data I want to display inside my C component. So what we have to do is, first, what you know, hierarchy based, you know, right? My app to A, you have to pass the data. My A to B, you have to pass the data. My B to C, you have to pass the data. Okay, this is the hierarchy based. Okay, what's problem with this hierarchy based? Okay, we'll see. And then how you can overcome this problem by using context, we'll see. Okay, so that first complete by using hierarchy based. Okay, how we can write it from here. Okay, so see here. Total, how many components are there? 4 components are there. Okay, write it. This is my component. And the next one, this is my B component. And next one. Okay, you can use normal component also, is nothing but functional component also. Now see this hierarchy. App contains A. My app component contains A component. So that this is my app component. Just write one page one. This is my app component, which contains what? Which contains A component. It contains A component. Now my A contains B. My A contains B. So that this is my A component that contains what? B component. Okay, A contains B. So that this is my component. It contains what? A contains B. Now come here. My B contains what? C. My B contains C. Now this is the one. Okay, here. This is my B component. This is my B component. That's what? C. Okay, so finally, this is my C component. This is my C component. Step. Here we draw the hierarchy, same like this. Just I loaded the component. That's it. I loaded the component. Now can you come here? Can I refresh my page? Can I refresh my page? Yes. My app contains A contains B, B contains C. Our requirement is what? Our requirement is what? My A has some data. So that will get some data. My name equals to such. This data I want to display inside my C component. Inside my C component. That is our requirement. So for what you know, by using that one, complete the requirement first. Hierarchy based, you know, right? Okay, what is the hierarchy based? App to A, you can pass it. Okay, how we can pass? At the time of loading the component, we can pass the data. So we can pass the data attribute format. So my name equals to, what is that? Name. Now this data go to my A component. My A is like which type of component? Class component. So that this dot props dot yeah. So that my data passed from where to where? App to A. So that my A inside my A, my searching displayed or not. You want me to display inside my A, or you have to give it to my C? Finally, C has to display the data. So this data I don't want to display here. Okay, can we give this data to my B component? Yeah, you can give it to my B component. Yes, you can give it to my B component. Once this data go to my B component, my B is like a class component. So how we can represent the data? By using N or not. So now my data go to my B component or not. Do you want me to show the data inside my B component? No. Okay, so you should have to give this data to my C component or not. To my component. I can data I want to give to my C component. Finally, my C is like a class component. So we represent this data which is coming from B to C. So that finally my data is inside where? C component or not. So this is the problem. Now from here, can I refresh my page? Yes. My app, okay, app to A to B, B to C or not. What's problem with this? Can anyone? The problem is only one hierarchy is there. Yes, I can manage. I can manage. One hierarchy is there. Okay, here to here, from here to here, from here to here, it's like a different levels are there. Then the time, if you face, okay, because of some external things, okay, if you miss this one, okay, instead of n, if you put like n1 or n2 or nn or something, if you like, you did like this, then what happened? My data traveling up to my B component. From there, the next components will never get this data or not, because they are retrieving with n. By mistake, you send this data by using nn or not. More hierarchies are there, more levels are there. Then the time, okay, there may be a chance to get this type of problems or not. Okay, by mistake, you change that key, then that time the next level components will impact or not. See here, B component send the data with nn, but my nn is not here. It's like n. Okay, so more hierarchies are there. This is the problem or not? Okay, one hierarchy, yes, no problem at all. Okay, is it the recommended way? Okay, 10 hierarchies are there. Okay, A contains B, B contains C, C contains D, like this 10 or 20 hierarchies are there. Lost children, I want the data, I want to display the data. Is it the recommended way? General, I'm asking. Is it the recommended way? Obviously, it is not a recommended way. Only one hierarchy is there. Yes, then no problem at all. Okay, then how I can share this data? Okay, without this syntax, without hierarchy based syntax, how I can share the data from my app component to C component? Means there has one more concept is there. Is a context is the one. Context. Okay, which concept is that? Context is the one. Context is it's like a method. Okay, context is like an object. Okay, by calling one method, you can get that object. How my context is going to work? That is your question or not? How my context is going to work? If you observe here, my app has data. You have to give this data to my C or not. It is traveling in between all children or not. So that indirectly, I am sharing my data, which data? App data, to my all children or not. From here to here, my data came. If you want to use, you can use it. Here to here, my data came. But if you want to use, you can use it. Here to here, my data came. If you want to use, you can use it. Okay, that means finally the statement is like this. Okay, my parent has some data. I want to share my data to all my children, either direct children or indirect children. Understand? I have some data. My parent has some data. That data, I want to share it to my all children. Why I said like all children? Why not said say C means from app to A, my data traveling is nothing but if you want A, inside A, yes, you can. Okay, inside A if you want, yes, you can use it. This dot pops dot n like this, you can use it or not. This dot pops dot n like this, you can use it. No problem at all. Okay, my data is traveling. Okay, all children or not. Now say this. Yeah. Okay, from here, can I remove this n and say this? Now, say this is my C or not. Anyone can use it. So, without hierarchy, how I can pass the data from my parent to all children? How I can make it available, my parent data to my all children or not? That is all the question. By using what? I don't want this hierarchy based by using context or not. So, why we go for context? Single word answer. Can anyone tell? Why we go for context? Why we go for context? Can anyone? If you want to share the data from my parent to all children, then you can go with what? Context. If you want to share the data from my parent to all children, next question you have to ask. Hey, is it possible to pass the data from my children to all parents? That is only the next level question or not? It is not possible by using context. It is not possible by using context. Only by using context. Okay. The level is like hierarchy level is like parent to all children, downstream only. Okay, not like upstream. Okay, not like child to parent like that. Yes or no? Any number of components is not a matter. Any number of components. So that is the one you have to tell like this. Why we go for context? If anyone asks, your answer is like what? If you have to, if you want to share the data from my parent to all children, All children is nothing but you may ask one more question. Hey, direct children or indirect children? Direct or indirect? No problem at all. My A is like a direct children to my app, but my C is like a indirect children to my app or not. That's it. Okay, done. Okay, now how we can? Okay, it's a statement. How we can syntactically how we can achieve this one is very simple. Now, who has data? Tell me. Who has data? Who has data? In our example, who has data? Yeah, perfect. So that who has data? Who has data? Okay, ask him. Ask him. I already created one context. Okay, context is nothing but simply for your if you want to remember. Okay, just you can say like a space. I created one context. So that first step is what? You have to create a context. Okay, how you can say context is a space, you can say. Okay, create a context. What done? It's a space. Create a context in a space. Created. Next, ask who has the data to that guy. Hey, can you provide your data to this context? Can you provide the data to this context? So that who has the data? App, right? My app has to provide the data to the context. So that's it. See, provide the data. Who? Data to context. Yes, I provided. Provide the data to the context. Next level, what? Who wants the data? Who wants the data? My app provided the data to the context is nothing but my app contains how many children. Any one of the children can consume it. So that this is not a requirement. Who want to consume the data? My C want to consume the data or not. So that, okay. Now next level is what? Consume the data from the context. Consume the data from context. Okay. Very simple or not? These steps completed our requirement. Okay, first what you have to do? You have to create the context. The next one is what? Provide the data to the context. Next one is what? Consume the data from the context or not. Agreed or not? Consume the data from the context. Up there, okay. Okay, okay then. Programmatically, how we can create the context, how to provide the data to the context, how to consume the data from the context, we'll see that. Very simple. Come on, let's start. Now come here. Okay, can we copy this one? No, this. The hierarchy based is not required for me. Okay, it's a what? This is my B component. This is my C component. Okay, this is my C. Hierarchy based that I don't want, so that I'm removing. Okay, this is the one. Yeah, perfect. This is my data. My app has data. Now, can you come here? Can you come here? Can I refresh my page? Yes. My app has A contains B contains C. It's okay, fine. Okay, the first step is what? If you want to use the context, the first step is what? The first step is I want to create the context or not. Okay, it's nothing but this one. It's nothing but this one. Now, my context created. It's a context. Who want to provide the data? Yeah, so that my context, inside my context, my app has to provide the data. Okay, now once my app provides the data inside the context, from that context only, right, my C has to retrieve, has to consume the data or not. So that, can anyone tell my context, the context you have to create, right? That context should be the global or specific to one component. Can anyone guess? Just guess and tell. My context should be the global or it's like specific to one component. Can anyone? Okay, it should be the global. Why? Because see this, the app should have to provide the data to the context. That means my app required context for what? My app requires context for what? To provide the data or not. Okay, next A, B, C require context for what? To consume the data or not. So that my context is not a local for the app. Okay, the same context I want inside the C to consume the data or not. So that my context should be what? A global variable or not. So first of all, create the context out of your components. This is my component, this is my component, this is my component, this is my component. Out of is nothing but can we create here constant my context equals to ctx equals to react dot React.createContext is the method. Create context is the method. Understand? Create context is the method. Okay, done. My context created. Okay, who can use this context? Throughout your script, anyone can use it or not. It's a global one. Throughout your script, anyone can use it or not. Well, that means C, B, A, yeah, anyone can use it. Okay, first I created the context. Next, can anyone guess? Next one. Provide the data to the context or not. Provide the data to the context. So that providing the data to the context, where you want it, right? Which component? Who has the data? That guy only provide the data, right? Who has the data? Yeah. So that provide the data to the context, you should have write inside my app component or not. So how we can write, how we can provide the data to the context means syntactically it's like very simple thing. Yeah. First, already context is there, right? For this guy only, right? How to provide the data? Okay, inside the context, provider, one component is there. Provider is like one context, one component is there. So that component is nothing but what? Okay, it should be starts with capital. It should be in the element format. You can ask one question. Hey, it not starts with capital letter, but this is your original one. It is taken from this particular object. Okay, ctx.provider, context.provider, which is used for what? To provide the data to the context. So that can we provide this section to this provider? Okay, which is coming from ctx context. Okay, this is my context or not? Okay, so how we can provide the data to this particular component? You know, right? Can anyone guess? This is my data. I want to provide to this guy. How we can provide? If it is like a component. Come on. I have the data. I want to provide the data to this particular component. How we can? Like an attributes. You should have to tell like an attribute, not a prop. Retrieving. I'm asking providing. Okay, retrieving you can say like if it is like a class component, you can say props. Okay, how we can provide the data is nothing but it should be like what? It should be like a what? Attribute or not. Perfect. Okay, attribute is nothing but what? Attribute is nothing but what? Key value pair. Okay, the key is what? Value. Yeah, decided. My name is like such. This is only my value or not? Now my question is key is what? Key. Key is what? Do you want me to put like n? Is it okay? Anything. Perfect. Yeah. So far I said like key is like anything. Okay. Why key is like anything I said means, say this. Okay, take one simple example. This is my component I create. React component. Render. I created this component. That one keep in your mind. I created. Okay, I am a developer. I created. Okay, this.props. This.props. By seeing this code, okay, this is my component. I'm telling again, this is my component. As a developer, I created this component. By seeing this code, at the time of loading this box component, how many props, how many attributes you have to pass? How many attributes you have to pass? By seeing this, just reverse, that's it, more than that, don't think more. By seeing this code at the time of loading this box component, how many attributes you have to pass? One attribute or not? One attribute, that's correct. With which key I'm asking? With which key? With which key? N is a key. Why? Because already you created one component. Okay, inside this component, my n already used. Okay, for example, if you created this one, you only created, you only used. Okay, if you change this one, what change you want me to do in the box component? What change you want me to make? What change you want me to do? What change you want me to do? Here, you should have to change like name or not. Think if my box component is created by some other person, okay, that means you not created. If my box component is created by some other person, that person already used like a this.props.n. If you pass like name Sachin, if I created, I can change it, but this is created by whom? Some other person, right? That component. Yes or no? Okay, then how we can? Then whatever my predefined component, they provided the document, right? Hey, this is the property keys. This is the prop keys you have to use. Okay, whatever the documentation they provided, you should have to follow their guidelines only or not. Why? Because you are not the person to change it. You are just using that component or not. Agreed? Yes or no? Okay, so that come here now. Come here now. My context dot provider, is it your component or their component? My React people created. Who created this component? Is it mine? If it is mine, I can put anything here. I can change anything in my component or not. Name, I can change like name. Okay, N, K, whatever I want, I can change it. But my context provider is not your component. Then what you have to do? You should have to follow their guidelines or not what they provided. In that particular document, they said like, hey, if you want to provide some data, can you give me the data with this key only? Why? Because I already retrieved. Okay, I already retrieved with what? I already retrieved whatever the data is there with this key only. So that what you have to follow? You should have to follow with that particular value. You should have to follow that guideline only. Which guideline? You should have to follow. You should have to pass the data with that particular key only or not. Agreed? Yes or no? Yes or no? Understand? So that my context dot provider, not yours. If it is yours, yeah, our statement is valid. Okay, anything you can put it. Okay, based on that one, you can change it. But here, my provider not yours. If it is not yours, you should have to follow their guidelines. Why? Because you are not the person to change it. Okay, perfect. Now, I provided this data to my context. To whom you want me to make it available? That is my next question. To whom you want me to make it available? Can anyone guess? To my children or not? To my children. Here, C is not available, right? Okay, which children? To my A. Okay, so that can we remove this one? Yes. Now, whatever the data you provided, that is available to my A component. Okay, that A component make it available to my B. B is available to C. All your children's now my provided data is available. That's the syntax. Again, provide the data to the context and make it available to your components. Done. Okay, second point also completed. The next one. Consume the data from the context. That's it. Consume the data from the context. Who want to consume? Who want to consume the data? C. So that first go there. C. This is my component. Okay, here only C colon. Here only I want the data, right? Okay, here itself you can write it. Okay, here if you want to consume the data, we have one more component is there inside this context component. You know, consumer. Okay, consumer is my component. Consumer is my component. Okay. CTX.provider to provide the data. CTX.consumer to consume the data. Now, provide the data attribute is okay. Consume the data is nothing but how one person gives something back to you. Can anyone guess? General question, JavaScript. Okay, how one person give something back to you. Okay, some data if you want to back by using callbacks, right? I given one function to that guy that by is going to call my function with some data or not by using callbacks or not. So that my context.consumer take one callback function as a children. So that here one function I can write. If it is like a function, the JSX contains JavaScript. Any JavaScript, if you write, that should be inside an expression or not, agreed or not. Okay, now see this. I given this function to my consumer. Can anyone tell how my consumer take this function? How my consumer take this function? Okay, in exception handling, I already told to you. How many ways we can pass the data to the component means one is like by using attributes, another one is like by using a children or not. Okay, now I am giving this data as a children to my consumer component or not. Inside my consumer component, if it is like an attribute, how we can take it? Attributes, how we can take it? This dot props. Okay, children, how we can take it? This dot props dot children or not. So I given this function to some other person, is like a consumer. That person is going to call again with what? Call again with some different reference or not. While calling again, he passed the data. Which data, you know, whatever the data you provided to this particular context, that data only he provided to this particular consumer. So that my data is what now? Sachin. If my data is like a Sachin, can we return it? Okay, can we keep that sitting here? Can we write like this? Now can we come here? Can I refresh my page? Now can I refresh my page? Okay, give me some error. Can we fix it? Go to my console. Okay, my data. Where is the data? This is the written value, right? Can you include which one element? Span. Okay, come here. Okay, now come here. Can I refresh my page? Now see this. Yeah, Sachin. Agreed? Yes or no? Hmm? Where you want. Okay, B or C or A, wherever you want, you can write that code. I want inside B. Yeah, you can put it. No problem at all. No problem at all. Yes, my B also has the data. Yeah. Which component require the data? Okay, just you should have to write some piece of code. This one or not? Agreed or not? So for good. Now the next question. The next question you can ask. Hey, it's like only Sachin. Okay, I have Sachin, Dhoni, Kohli like this. 3 players are there. Then do you want me to pass the data like 3 attributes? Do you want me to pass the data like 3 attributes? Do you want me to pass like this? No, not required. Okay, why? Because here the value is nothing but the data what you want me to provide with this key only. This one you can change it. My names equals to what now? Sachin. Okay, data format you can change it. Okay, how you can represent multiple players in a single variable. Okay, you know all data representations, right? Okay, like this you can. Now this data go to where? Go to your consumer or not. Now can anyone tell? My data in the past is like a string. Now my data is like what? Okay, my data is like what? Can anyone guess? My data is like what? My data is like an array. So from that way, how we can retrieve the data? Okay, by using an index, by using anything based on your requirement, you know all the methods. Okay, now here 0 is nothing but 1, 0 is nothing but first one, so that C contains Sachin, and here my B contains the first index value or not. So now can you come here? Here Sachin, here don't. Agreed? Yes or no? Okay, up to here, okay or not? Up to here, okay or not? Okay, any questions so far? Okay, here this is my consumer. Okay, you have to give syntax. You have to give one function as a children to my consumer. Okay, that means I'm giving one function to some other person. That person is going to call again with some other references, like but callback or not, so that I can say this one is like a callback. Okay, I can pass like this. I can pass like this also. In the past, you saw like this, right? One function you can pass it. Okay, this is also callback only. You are giving in one way. Okay, attribute format. You can do like a children format also or not. Like this you can. Okay. Okay. Okay, that value we are not able to assign to my. Okay, we are not able to assign to my local variable. Local variable wherever you want to display, just you can display it. Okay, see this. This is the consumer, right? You given as a children. That's it. You given as a children to my consumer. You given as a children to my consumer. So given this one like a children to my consumer. My consumer take like what this dot props dot children. He is calling with your provided data, whatever the data provided, like that. Okay. Okay. In between, if you want to modify, the same key with the same key, you have to modify. Again, this same concept we are going to discuss in the hooks. Okay, that time we can get some extra things. I will tell. Agreed? Okay, this should be inside this consumer only way, because the consumer only is going to call like a callback. Okay, this one, if you want, okay, you can do one thing. You can pass one normal function. Normal function you can write it. General, if you want to write like this. You can write one normal function. From here we can't. You can write one normal function here. That function you can pass. That function you can pass. Okay, to this guy. Okay, once you pass the function here, like this. This is the function, right? This is the function. Can I cut it? Okay, can you create the function here? Can we create the function here? This is my function. This is my function. Can we give some name here? F1. This is my function. Okay. Now this F1 you can give here. This F1 you can give here. This dot F1 like this. Now my consumer call this function by passing some data. So this data, if you want to store it in a variable, yes, you can store it. But here directly is not possible. It should be here only. The function you can change it, no problem. That's a normal concept only or not. Okay, you've given this function to consumer. My consumer call this function by passing some data. That's it. Okay. Okay, F1 binded and everything is next level. Okay, if this is not there, you can bind it. That's not an issue. Okay. Now, what are the drawbacks? If you follow this one, what are the drawbacks? Can anyone? What are the drawbacks? We can pass the data only downstream only, parent to children's only or not. We can pass the data for what? Only parent to children's. If you want to pass the data from my children to parent, if you want to pass the data from where to where? Children to parents, then the time my context will never work. Understand or not? Now come to our actual requirement. If you want to pass the data from my app to E, okay, how many ways we can pass it? App to E, how many ways we can pass? You can pass it. Hierarchy based. App to A to C, C to E. That is one way. Another one is what? App to E by using context or not. My app is a parent. Okay, you can make the data is available to all my children by using context or not. By using context also we can do it. Okay, which one is the better one? Either this one or this one. Which one is the better one? Okay, always in this requirement, my context is the better one or not. My context is the suitable one. But my requirement is sometimes I want to pass the data app to E. Sometimes my E has to pass the data to my T. Okay, sometimes my T has to pass the data to my A. Okay, sometimes my C has to pass the data to my app. Like this, I need the communication across your components in your application. Okay, all components, irrespective of your hierarchy. Okay, parent to all children is not there, child to parent is not there. Okay, there is no hierarchy. Okay, in the context also, it's one type of hierarchy. Parent to all children is not, but parent children's hierarchy or not. Irrespective of hierarchy, is it possible to pass or is it possible to share the data across your application, across your components inside the application? Yes, we can do it by using one of the third-party library, that is 𝕨𝕒𝕟𝕜1. Irrespective of, okay, just leave that hierarchy. No hierarchy, nothing. Any component can give the data to some other person. Okay, some other person can give the data to some other guy. Okay, there is no hierarchy, nothing. Hierarchy concept is not there. Okay, I want to pass the data like this without hierarchy. Then how we can means by using products we can do it. So that one line answer. Okay, if anyone asks why we go for Redux, what's your answer? I want to manage the state. State is nothing but what? State is nothing but just state inside the component. Can anyone tell why we go for state? To manage the data or not? Agreed? to manage the data or not? To manage the data at the component level. To manage the data at which level? Component level. Okay, then inside the component you can write like this dot state or not. The state variable only for that component only. Outside the component we can't use. Now the same state I want at application level or not. So that the one sentence you can say like the state management at application level. Then you can go with what? Redux. That's it. State management at component level we can do by using the state variable this dot state. Okay, the state management at application level, how we can do it? By using Redux or not. So how my Redux is going to syntactically we'll see later. Okay, flow wise how it is going to work means very simple. Say this. First of all, in my Redux, no one store the data at component level. Yes or no? Why? Because that data is not specific to me. That data I want to give it to some other person. Okay, that person can take it. Okay, so that my data we are not managing inside the component. So out of your components you have to manage the data. So that just I need some space to manage the data. I need some space to manage the data. So that this is my space. We can say like store. Okay, we can say like what? Store. This is my store. Now here I want to pass the data app to E or app to C. Okay, so that ask my app set the data inside my store. Ask my app set the data inside my store. Okay, where is my data? Inside my store or not? Now who wants this data? App data. C, right? Ask my C consume the data from the store. Consume the data from the store. Consume the data from the store. Okay, looks like it's like what? Context only. But the thing is, E is there, right? E want to pass the data to my app. So that ask to my E, set the data inside the store. Ask my app, get the data from the store. So this, you pass the data from where to where now? E to app or not? E to app or not? Here, there is no hierarchy, nothing. Who want to share the data with some other person? Put the data inside the store. Who want the data from the store? Just get it. That's it. It's a simple functionality wise. It looks like this. In between syntactical, we have to write some other stuff. Agreed? Yes or no? Okay, syntactical how it's going to work, I will tell. Okay, who want to share the data? That guy has to keep the data inside the store. Now tell me, inside the store, which type of data you want me to maintain? How much data we can maintain? Can anyone guess? How much data we can maintain? How much data? Can anyone guess? Is it restricted? Only app only want to share the data, or A only want to share the data, or E? I don't know how many components want to share the data with some other components. I don't know that one. Okay, is my app component and my A component both are like sharing the same data? I don't know. My app is sharing like users data. My A is sharing like a player's data. Then how we can differentiate? Store is only one. How we can differentiate my app data? How we can differentiate my A data? Then, okay, how much data? I don't know. Then my store data, we can store in which format? Can anyone guess? In which format we can store the data? In the object format. Why object? You know, inside this object, how many properties you want it with, you can put it. Okay, that means there is no problem at all. Number of properties you can put it. One property to another property we can differentiate, like a player's data. Okay, the key is like a player's. Okay, user's data. User's data. You can put like a key is like a user's. Yes or no? We can differentiate the data. My app store the data. Which data? User's data. My A stores player's data. We can differentiate it or not. Like this, how much data you want me to store? Any number of properties you can add to my component or not, add to my object or not component, object or not. So that inside my store, how we manage the data? Inside my store, okay, how you want me to manage the data? In the form of object or not? In the form of what? Object or not? Agreed? Yes or no? So that in my Redux, first, what you want me to do? Okay, first functionality. Which functionality you want me to start first? Which functionality you want me to start first? Come on. How to set the data inside store or not. First one, how to set the data inside the store. Okay, if you know that one, any component can set the data inside the store or not. Okay, if you know the syntax, the same syntax you can use wherever you want. How to set the data. The next one is what? How to get the data. That's it. How to get the data from the store or not. Data from the store or not. That's it. If you know these two things, my Redux completed. That's it. If you know these two things, my Redux completed or not. Okay. Now, Redux is not a default React component. Okay, it's like something out of your React, it's a third-party library, some other external person. So that if you want to create your Redux store, we can say like a Redux store, this one. So this part is like a Redux one. This spot is like a Redux. To manage the store and everything, we need one library. That library called as what? Redux is the library. Redux. Okay, so that which library you want me to add? The Redux is the library or not? Good. If you want to manage the store and everything, you need one library. It's like a Redux is the library. So A component, app component, C, E, all these components. These are the components. How you can create these components? To create these components, what we needed? Can anyone guess? Okay, React library is required. React DOM is required. The next one, React scripts is required. So that this is already done. Already we have. So that extra library is what? Redux is my extra library. Next one, it's like a Redux part. It's like a React. Now, my React application has to communicate with my Redux store or not? Agreed to set or get the data. Yes or no? My Redux store, my React components has to communicate with my Redux store or not? Okay, then only, right? We can set or get the data is happen. That React communication with my React and Redux communication is happened by using one of the library called as a React to Redux. So that extra, how many libraries you have to add to your application now? So how many libraries you want to add to your application? Extra 2 libraries or not? One is like Redux. One is like what? Redux library. Already these things are there. Another one is like what? React Redux library or not? Redux and React Redux library. Okay, first of all, can we create one application? I don't want to write that application here. I don't want to write our application here. Already my React web is done, right? Okay, here I want to write one more folder, new folder. Okay, Redux topics. First we can go with the Redux and then we can go with the Redux topics. Okay. First complete one flow. Okay, end-to-end flow is nothing but how to set the data, how to get the data, and then we can discuss like Redux Thunk and Redux Saga, Redux Forms. These are the topics we can discuss. Now this is my application. I don't how you want me to create an application? Create React app is my application, right? Okay, I don't want to run that one. If you want to run, you can run it, no problem. But because it takes so much time information, so I copy paste it from there to here. Okay, this is my Redux one. Just paste it. Okay, inside this package.json. Okay, inside this package.json. If you see this, inside this package.json. Okay, what things are required? Okay, React DOM, React scripts, and Bootstrap is not required for me. Just remove it. Okay, done. Immediately, what we have to do? If you want to run this application, I want the libraries. You have to download the libraries or not? How you can download it? Okay, by running one of the command called npm install with the command or not. If you run this command, whatever the package.json dependencies are there, those only we can download it. How many dependencies are there? 3. React DOM, and React scripts. Okay, extra 2 libraries are required. Those 2 libraries version names I don't know. So that directly we can write like what? npm install Redux, and another one is like React Redux, and save it. Okay, it may take some time. Okay, that one also you can do from your end. Okay, then we'll see remaining things in tomorrow's class. Thanks guys, thanks for joining. Okay, the videos I provided, right? Okay, the videos I provided to you. So this is my content. Okay, this is your, it's a private, yeah, I said like it's a private. This is your, okay, password. This is the link and this is the password. Okay, all are there, 12 and 13, everything is there. Okay, in the content.txt file, okay, from here 8 onwards, okay, whenever we start end-to-end flow, everything is there. Okay, say this. Okay, Redux video, okay, 1 or 2 days videos also I will ask, I will provide you, okay, because those are important. So, okay, then, thanks guys, thanks for playing. So I already uploaded these things, you can download it. You can download it.